Prince Harry, thank you so much for joining us to talk about the Invictus Games here in Orlando. So why for the U.S. to host the Games? Why Orlando?
Why Orlando? Well, Vanessa, it was a choice between Orlando or Washington, and Orlando came up top. I think the easiest way to answer that is because of Disney World and my love and passion for coming back to Disney World. But deep down inside, I think the importance around the families bit is a real thing for us, and to give the competitors a chance to bring their families and their children over from all the other 14 different nations to Disney World to enjoy the delights of Disney and everything it has to offer. And also, the weather is absolutely fantastic. And you know what? America was where this idea was born. It was where I stole it from. So it seemed right and appropriate to bring it back to you guys.
And you mentioned that, so talk a little bit about where this idea came from, because it did come from an event you saw here in the United States.
Yes, I think it was in 2012. I probably got that wrong, but it was sometime then that I came over to Colorado Springs to watch the Warrior Games, which I hope most of you guys have heard about, if not seen, hopefully. And during a trip there, I realized that I saw sports take a hugely important part in the rehabilitation and the recovery process of all these individuals. For those who don't know, the Warrior Games is a multi-sport discipline for, I think, 300 of the US service men and women, of which 30 people were invited from the UK. And we came over, took part in it, and there was probably maybe 10 or 15 cameras, maybe 150 spectators, and I saw this amazing event unfold in front of me and saw the impact that it had on all of these individuals in different stages of their recovery process from the injuries that they sustained from Iraq or Afghanistan or back home, and decided that this needed to go to an international market. This needed to go to an international audience. These guys needed to be celebrated more. And it was such a wonderful example of determination, grit, everything that you could possibly wish for the fighting human spirit. And this needed to be international, and people needed to be able to see it and enjoy this sporting spectacle that was unfolding in front of my eyes.
And you've talked a bit about this, but tell me more, why are you so passionate about the Invictus Games? And I know it has to do with something you saw during your military service.
Yes, the passions for the Invictus Games, or the passions of my connection, I suppose, towards all the veterans and the military family, stems back from 2007, 2008, when I got pulled out of Afghanistan after just 10 weeks. I had to leave my soldiers behind in the desert, not knowing what was not knowing what was going to happen to them. As anybody, especially as an army officer, it was probably one of the worst experiences of my life, being plucked out of there. And as I said, not knowing whether the next time I was going to see them, they were going to be in a body bag, or whether they were going to be, in hospital back here with their families standing over them. So when I was extracted, I ended up on a plane back from Kandahar airport, and there were 3 or 4 British soldiers in the room in front of me on the plane. And I pulled back the curtain and asked the doctors if I could speak to them. And they said, well, unfortunately, they're all in induced comas, but do come and have a look. And one of them was a Marine, Ben McBean, who a young lad, I think he was about 22 at the time, perhaps, lost an arm and lost a leg, and was wrapped up in all of this plastic with tubes in his mouth, tubes coming out of all of his body. The guy next to him had a little capsule with shrapnel in it that had been removed from his brain, and he was in an induced coma, clutching this in his hand. And I'd heard about all of these injuries that were happening, and all of the bodies and the parts of bodies that were being flown back to the UK, which was a horrible thing to hear about when you're there on the ground. But then to see it was this unbelievably powerful moment that sort of hit me smack in the face. And I realized, you know what, something needs to be done about this, because these kids are going back to their parents, back to their families in pieces. And, people in the UK don't know what's happening. There's a lot of a propaganda piece, which is understandable. Not everybody wants to hear about all the injuries, but the facts were there. They were right in front of me. These kids were being blown up serving their country. And after 10 years service of my own, it only seemed right that I was perfectly positioned to be able to shine a massive spotlight on these individuals all across the world, and then to be able to create a platform for them to be able to use sport as part of their recovery process, not just for them and not just for physical or mental injuries, but for their families as well.
We have seen the video from the games in London, but tell people here in Orlando and those who will be coming to Orlando, this is more than just a sporting event. It really is an experience.
This is an experience, it's an emotional roller coaster. There's not a single point during these games that spectators will sit there feeling sorry for these guys. That is not what this is about. People in America and people across the world who haven't seen the games may think, oh, this is a bunch of wounded soldiers on a sporting field taking each other on. Absolutely, I mean, it's completely the opposite to what it is. It is an emotional roller coaster. You've got a lethal combination of, fast jets for the opening ceremony, blind dogs helping these guys move around, wheelchairs, prosthetics, mass bands, amazing sporting competition, and not forgetting 15 different nations, all in Orlando with Disney World next door. I mean, it really is going to be an unbelievable sporting event. And back in London in 2014, when the first games that we held, we had no idea what to expect. I had no idea that these guys were going to be quite so good at sport. I was just trying to provide a platform so that they could use sport for their recovery. And then all of a sudden, because of this ingrained competition and determination that's built into all of these soldiers from the moment they start their training, this amazing atmosphere was created by the British public and by these competitors on the sporting field. And it literally was battle again with your allies on the sporting field, fighting for all these medals. And it was an incredibly moving experience. And I know the word inspiring gets thrown around a lot, but I tell you what, every single person in that place was inspired in the Olympic Park in 2014. And it brought a tear to my eye. And it was truly fantastic.
But it's not just about the physical. This really does address what's being called the invisible injury. What does that mean?
The invisible injuries is a term for mental illness. We're trying to rename it mental fitness because I think that it's a much stronger impact for the guys. If you as a soldier, you are essentially an athlete with a weapon. That's how a lot of us view it. And you need to be physically fit all the time, and you can't be physically fit and not mentally fit. So whether you're serving or whether you're a veteran, a lot of guys end up struggling with the things that they've seen, the experiences they've had, sometimes the guilt that they've had from being on operations. But essentially, the invisible injuries is the bits that people can't see. It's almost easier for the lads with a missing leg, a missing finger, a missing hand, burns to the face, whatever it be. Weirdly, it's sometimes easier for those individuals to fit back into society because their wounds are visible. With invisible injuries, it's a lot harder for these guys, and it's one of the biggest points is the stigma that surrounds it. People don't talk about it enough. It's not just with the military, it's with the civilian population as well. We need to talk about mental health. We talk about physical health. If you twist your ankle, you go down to the hospital. If you have a nervous breakdown, where do you go? A lot of these individuals end up hiding away with major anxiety and unable to bring themselves out of their home. What the Invictus Games has done, and numerous other charities as well, is this ability to be able to draw the individuals out of their house and saying to them, guys, dare yourself to leave your house, come and fight alongside your mates, put on that Union Jack in our case, or whatever flag it is, put it on your left chest again, wear a uniform, be part of a team, have a focus, and come and have an amazing time and get cheered on and supported by people all across the world.
And in addition to the events themselves, you have some star power lined up for this. The First Lady of the United States will be there as well.
Yes, Michelle Obama will be there. She'll be fighting the whole way through with me, which will be fantastic, and Dr. Biden as well. And I tell you what, Vanessa, the support from the two of them has been unbelievable. And what's so nice is to find people on the other side of the Atlantic who share my passion and I share their passion, and it works. You know, when you bump into somebody and you can tell they get it. The soldiers get them, they get the soldiers, and it just works. And Dr. Biden and the First Lady are exactly that. And also the President has thrown his weight behind it with a video that no doubt people will see at some point as well. And you know what? The more people that can come together to support these guys and to show their appreciation for the service that they have done is a huge thing. And I know America is very, very good at saying to the veterans, you know, thank you for your service. But the Invictus Games is much more than that, and you guys are very good at that. And maybe we're slightly behind you on those grounds, but it's more than thank you. It's more than thank you for your service. It's so much more. And with the support of the First Lady, Dr. Biden, President Obama, President Bush, and everybody else in America, this is going to be a fantastic Games.
And so when you are here, can you just envision how you are going to feel when you see these games? You've seen them in London, but seeing them here in the United States, based on when you have this idea and now it all comes together. What is that like for you?
It's an incredibly emotional experience, but a good emotions. It's uplifting. I never knew how the 2014 Games was going to pan out. No one did. But in the Copper Box, which is our indoor arena in the Olympic Park, we filled that with 6,000 people. And on Friday night, when the USA took on Team GB inside their wheelchair rugby, when it was a draw, and then every 10 seconds we were up by one, and then there was a draw, and in the last 14 seconds we beat you guys in the final. That was when the penny dropped. And if there wasn't 6,000 people and numerous TV cameras in my face, I probably would have cried. And you know, when you start something like this and when you have the bond with these guys like I do, I think you feel incredibly responsible. You feel very father-like, I guess. And all I want is to make sure this event is successful, and that it provides more and more opportunities for individuals all over the world who need to use sport to get themselves back into a job, back into society, whatever it be. So hopefully, I mean, I feel incredibly proud, not for what we've achieved and what we've set up, but to have the chance to be able to see these individuals literally turn their lives around, knowing that they've been given a second chance, which a lot of guys haven't been given, and then making the most of this and basically kicking the arse out of life.
And then it has an impact on the athletes, but also the families, because there's a family component to the Invictus Games as well.
There's a huge family component, and a lot of the focus from our perspective right from the beginning had to be the families, because you know what, as a fellow serviceman, you know, being away for 10 weeks back in 2008 in Afghanistan, and then again for 5.5 to 6 months in 2012, I think. It can be quite a selfish job. You know, we go away with our friends. We go away doing something that we love. We go away to serve our country with our buddies, with our mates, you know, with our comrades. And it's the children, and it's the families, it's the wives, it's the husbands, it's the fathers, the grandparents. Those are the ones that end up getting left behind. And the support has to be there for them, because when we come back, that's where this support structure, where the family structure is. And you know, it's a huge, huge part of being able to get these guys back onto recovery. And you know, if your brother was to come back from Iraq or Afghanistan, or even serving at home, if he came back with a life-changing injury, you and all your family would get around them. That's what part of the rehabilitation process is. But it doesn't just affect the injured; it affects everybody around them. So therefore, there has to be a focus on the family, which is another reason why we're coming to Orlando, because Disney World will be a distraction for the kids, while Team UK can basically win all the medals.
Well, we'll see. Now, one last question. Speaking of family, any members of the royal family will be joining you here?
Are you still there, Vanessa?
Yes, can you hear me?
We need to wrap it up.
I can't hear you. I can't hear you anymore if you're still there.
Hello, can you hear me? I think we've lost him.
No, hang up.
It was good. Very
Okay.
good. That was excellent.
Hi, Vanessa, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Oh,
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
if you guys want to say goodbye.
Cool, I can hear you too. I can
Oh,
hear
excellent.
you.
I just had one quick last question. We were talking about family. Are any members of the royal family going
Last
to be
question,
joining
go
you
for
for the Invictus Games here?
I hope so, but I think it's probably very unlikely. I can't really persuade any of my family to come out to Orlando just for a few days. I think most of them are incredibly busy, and I wouldn't have time to look after them. So it's probably going to be just me. I hope you guys are all right with that. But I assure you that I will try and make up for every single one of them.
We are very much okay with that, more than okay. Thank you so much for joining us, and we're looking forward to the games. See you here.
Not at all. Vanessa, thank you very, very much. I look forward to seeing you all there.
Thank you.